Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
In all things in beauty. Welcome to Radio AMB, designed for those who want to live a long and vibrant life. I'm Patty Smucker, your host, and someone who's been in the beauty industry for the last 40 years. Radio AMB, which stands for American-Made Beauty, is designed to tell the secrets behind the making of health and beauty products. We have a sponsor, Free Your Mane. You can go to Free Your Mane, that's spelled MANE.com, and you can also find Free Your Mane at Anthropology stores. So today's show is being recorded on February 29th, that magical extra day that appears every 4 years due to the solar system's disparity with the Gregorian calendar. A complete orbit of the Earth, as many of you know probably, around the sun takes approximately 365.2422 days to complete. But the Gregorian calendar uses 365 days, and that's why every 4 years we have an extra day in the year. We're using this extra day this year to talk about energy. Melissa Chambers Yamaguchi not only is one of the most esteemed thinkers of the professional beauty world, but she's a highly sought-after business person who is changing the way people see themselves and their interaction in the world. During our feature interview this morning, we'll be interviewing Melissa and learn a little bit about her journey into the beauty industry and her 20 years studying Feng Shui and applying it on a personal and professional level. This is such an interesting topic, and so there's so much to uncover. And so I'm going to depart from our normal format so that we can learn about energies of the earth and our individual vibrations of energy. We'll explore the history of Feng Shui and how people are applying this 5,000-year-old intelligence in the world today. We'll also learn a little bit about how Melissa is using this wisdom to help her and her staff and her children live and work in life today. So as we get started, just remember that our sponsor is Free Your Mane. And let me begin this segment by just telling you a little bit more about Melissa. Today, my guest is one half of another very powerful beauty world leaders. We've interviewed Ginger Boyle and Robert Linden a few months ago, and Melissa and her husband, Billy Yamaguchi, opened their Yamaguchi Salon and Coastal Spa in 1992. Melissa Chambers Yamaguchi is acknowledged as one of the finest day spas in the United States. The company has received worldwide attention as an industry leader in the salon and spa business. And Melissa's received just amazing recognition for her innovation in the way that she's put her business together, the creativity, the effective skills in operating the spa, and she really has created a unique approach in adopting Feng Shui to services, products, and seminars in their business. Melissa is a dynamic energy therapist and Feng Shui speaker, educator. She travels the world teaching lessons on balance of the environment through the practice of Feng Shui. So, Melissa, we're just thrilled to have you with us. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be with you as well.
Melissa, you have become one of those leading voices in the beauty world. Let's start by laying some of the groundwork. How did you find your way into the beauty industry? You're not a licensed cosmetologist, are you?
I'm not, so I can't cut hair with any validity, no matter how much my interest may lie in that arena. Candidly, I came into the beauty industry by falling in love with a hairdresser.
Okay.
And I was so enamored with the guy, I asked him out on a date the first session we had together. He cut my hair, he permed it. It's back in the whole perm Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation time. And I was so enamored with him that I asked him out on a date. We dated for 6 years. We've been married for over 20. So that's how I made my way in. Once I got into the industry, by our relationship. Once we got married, Billy opened his own salon, and he and I opened it together.
Right.
I was running it day to day so that he could be the iconic brand of the company. So I was behind the scenes, much like the Wizard of Oz, controlling the scene.
Right.
And I was invited to be on the board for the Salon Association. And I was sure that they had made a mistake because most of the organizations were getting the hairdressers in, not the back end. But this was a focus on business. So they brought me in after being on the board for 8 years. I then moved on to the presidency for an additional 8 years before becoming the first chair for the Professional Beauty Association. So I was adopted by the industry merely by falling in love with one of its own.
Well, and and that adoption process, it was mutual, I'm sure, in terms of the industry seeing this unique talent, because just you came to this with a whole personal history about the way you approach life. So, in not having any background in the beauty industry, what was your method by being able to really grab a hold and make that business a success from the beginning?
I believe that the success to running any business, in particular in our beauty industry, is understanding and appreciating people. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to be flippant about that. I know that's a broad statement. But the truth of the matter is so many of us run our businesses based on the numbers, and I've been guilty of that. Mm-hmm. We got to hit certain numbers. We've got to hit certain quotas. When we stop and take into account that each energy housed in one body in our company has different needs and measures of need and ability to meet standards, if you will, when we stop to take into consideration that each person is unique in himself, right, as an employee, then it will be more successful. We do it with our clients. We don't give every client the Jennifer Aniston look. Right. We don't give every client the Gwyneth Paltrow color. So we take into consideration that client's skin tone, the client's lifestyle. How much time can she dedicate to curling her hair or blowing it out every morning? Right. So I knew that the more individualized I became in treating our team, the more successful we were and they were. We were optimizing their energy as well. And I'm going to tell you that I believe that my lessons in this really stem from my childhood. I'm the youngest of three, and my middle brother was born deaf. The nerve things in his ears were never formed, so he's never heard. Right, okay. And so my mother wasn't allowed to teach all three of us in the exact same way, or parent all three of us in the exact same way. Not that you would. Each child is different. But in particular, the differences in the individuality was distinctly highlighted with the three of us because of my brother's inability to hear. Right. So understanding the value of the individual, understanding the importance of the individual's needs was really stemmed from my childhood and my mother's raising of my brothers and me. And that makes sense, and so you really had an inherent awareness that there was this individual approach that you needed to do with people. How did you learn the business aspect of it? My parents always had their own company. Okay. They had their own businesses that they ran from the time I was young. From the time I was being in 4th and 5th grade, I was addressing envelopes for accounts receivable and understanding the difference between credit and debit and placing bills when they came in and stamping the days they were received and doing mini junior bookkeeping from the time I was very young in the family business. So it's the basic logical aspect of business was a part of my life growing up as well. Right. And then when you began seeing the difference in terms of the way that you were developing the business, at what point were you introduced to Feng Shui, and how did that begin to weave into the concepts of the business? I began studying. I thought perhaps I'd want to go back to college and get my degree in architecture. It was a fantasy. So I began studying the preliminary infatuation of architecture and picking up some books on it and studying it on my own prior to signing up at college. And I noticed that a lot of the design that I was most attracted to had this concept of Feng Shui, whatever. I didn't even know how to say it. Some aspect of it that was dedicated to it. And I found a lot of it in the Frank Lloyd Wright work and any work where the architecture had an inherent attachment to the environment and his or her design's place in it. And I didn't know what it was, and it kept coming up, and so I went to the library and began looking at books on this Feng Shui thing, and was led to a book called The I Ching. And the I Ching, I checked it out, then I eventually bought my own version of it, and I was studying it at home. And I remember that it was a Sunday morning, and I remember sitting up and staring at Billy, my husband, and saying, I understand this. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, like bully for you. But I said to him, you don't understand. This is a complex study and discipline that's as easy to me as simplistic math. I understand this with every fiber of my being, and that's how I knew it was mine to teach. Mm-hmm. So I began teaching it to Billy, and he kept saying to me, this sounds extremely close to the lessons that I was taught about placement by my grandfather in Japan. Uh-huh. And so I said, I'm going to find out more about this. And that's when I began diving in deeper to the study of Feng Shui and attending classes when I could, buying every book known to man and studying it. And then when I found an instructor who doesn't take on any more clients and did not want to take on anyone else, but I was insistent and really was just water treatment tortured her by emailing her almost every other day, begging her to take me on. She finally took me on, and when she met me, she was shocked. She thought I was going to be an Asian woman with the misleading last name. Right, and she said, it is my experience that women from the Western world are not open to Feng Shui. I said, much like you're not open to me. Good point. Perhaps we can both forgive each other and then move forward with this beautiful concept. And I really thought 19 years ago when that meeting took place that I was going to get the basics from her and then move on. Who knew what was going to take place next? But it struck not one chord, but every fiber of my being. And when I realized that I was meant to teach this, that this had been inside me all along waiting to come out because it was just so easy. I was practically helping other people in the class by the end of the day. Wow. So for our listeners, let's do, again, a little foundation. Can explain what is Feng Shui? Well, the earth is vibrating at a measurable frequency at all times. Mm-hmm. And that is a scientific knowledge. That's a fact. You can measure the frequency coming from the earth. And those vibrational frequencies place a lot of determination on our weather, on the texture of the soil, the attitude of the people walking around. Energy affects all of us. Those vibrational frequencies translate into what we know as energy. Mm-hmm. And over 4,000 years ago in China, the emperor wanted to maintain his agrarian control. He was the leading exporter of rice, and he wanted to maintain his riches, which was the rising in the agricultural industry. They pulled in all of his geniuses, trying to get them to come up with a way or understand a way for him to make more money. Mm-hmm. And he asked them some very basic questions. Why is it when we lay our crops north to south, we generate a different crop than when it's changed 2 degrees or 10 degrees? Why is that? If it's heading east to west or northeast to southwest, why do we get a different crop? And they didn't know. Mm-hmm. So they began studying, and they began documenting and journaling every day, every hour, for months and years at a time, and recording all of their findings, the way people were behaving, the way the sun was setting, the way that the moon was rising, every single aspect of it. Not the way the stars were aligned in the sky. It was merely the sun and the moon, the air, the temperatures, and people's behavior, and so forth, and the reaction that people had to certain foods, why certain people were able to handle sweets and certain people salts and spices and so forth. On the 13th year, after 12 years of recording all this, they saw that year 13 was very similar to year 1, almost uncannily so. Mm-hmm. So they then saw a 12-year pattern. After years and years of maintaining this information and growing at an exponential rate, the farmers at the time started realizing that the emperor was getting wealthier. Uh-huh. And at the time, the Chinese really believed that the emperor was placed in a position by heaven luck. The heavens placed this man there, and therefore he would not only become wealthy himself, but would take care of his people. But they noticed that this emperor was hoarding a lot of the wealth and the goods for himself, while they were lacking. So the farmers, as well as the lower-level military and policemen, got together and staged a coup. Uh-huh. They stormed the palace, and it was during the Han Dynasty. They stormed the palace, and they grabbed their yellow vests, which were indicative of their place with the farming society. Right. They placed the yellow rags around their head, the yellow vest in the form of rags, and stormed the palace. And they put those rags on themselves, those yellow rags, so that they could identify each other in the chaos. Ah, interesting. They stormed the palace, and this became known as the Yellow rebellion.
Uh-huh.
They stormed the palace, and as they were storming the palace, the geniuses who had gathered all this data for the emperor gathered all the books and fled the palace into the mountains. They realized that in order for China to succeed, that they would need to disseminate this information to the people. But they realized that their greatest hurdle was that the people were not educated as a whole. And they didn't know how they were going to get this information to them. Well, they may not understand all the mathematical algorithms and the formulations set in place to explain this vibrational frequency, but they sure would understand an animal.
Okay.
So they began studying. But this information here, this energy lines up, and the way it lines up is very similar to the mannerisms and behavior of a rat, then an ox, then a tiger, and so forth.
And so the mathematical equation, they lined up with what people would think about when they thought about a particular animal.
Yes, they took all the characteristics of that year. Instead of saying, well, this energy, this person is wildly loyal, this person has a need to be acknowledged for his or her efforts, this person is great at networking. These are the characteristics we're noticing of the way people are behaving in large this year, and the people that are born this year and 12 years ago on this year. And they said, this is similar to a rat. Well, the people identified with the animals, so they understood that. The only mythical creature on all the 12 assignments is the dragon. And that's merely because it was such a large part of China, of the legend and lore in China. The dragon knows everything. So that's why they maintained the dragon. But everything else is an actual animal.
Wow. And so what are the 12 animals?
In order, they are rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, rooster, dog, and finally pig.
And each of the 12 years within the cycle has that association, and that's why we hear every year China talks about it being the year of, and this particular year is the year of the dog, right?
No, this year we are in the year of the monkey.
Right. Okay. And so what's characteristic of the year of the monkey?
Well, it's a wily creature.
Okay.
And it's hard to pin down. And so just as you have set your compass in your car, your GPS system, and you are headed north, without any switch or change or infliction of your arms to move your car in any direction, you will find yourself headed west because the year moves in such pattern is that you never know what's coming around the corner. So it's not that the best laid plans are a moot point. It's that you can plan, but your best salvation, in addition to laying out your plan, is flexibility and spontaneity, because the year is going to be just flopping around like a fish on shore, and we won't be able to pin it down. We'll think one person will be president in this election, when we may be totally surprised.
Right.
And so the energy shifts and moves so much with the monkey, but that is the way the energy is coming from. That's the way the energy is moving from our Earth. It's just it's moving in such a pattern that is erratic. It's not a solid, strong, straight line energy that fails. It's unyielding. It's an energy that just moves around. It's herky-jerky. That's the way the energy is read.
Right. And so is the concept then that we really, as individuals, have no control? It's really this random energy and this energy that's going on that we are subject to?
It feels like that. It really can. And so that can oftentimes cause you to either, A, pull the sheets over your head or throw up your hands, when it couldn't be further from the truth. And the reason I suggest that and I encourage that is because in Feng Shui, I've had people hire me to come into their businesses or to their homes and ask me to Feng Shui certain aspects of it. And in Oklahoma, we have from where I hail, we have a saying that just because you stand in the garage doesn't make you a car.
Right.
And I think that saying was originally driven by a lot of the pastors and preachers of the areas trying to get people to say just because you come into the church doesn't make you a good Christian or whatever. It's like you have to live this. Well, in Feng Shui, I can borrow that analogy to say that just because you have Feng Shui as your environment doesn't mean that you're all together. If your energy is flailing around you in a tornado-like cycle, your best bet is to control your reaction to it. So if energy is chaotic, then you tighten yourself in and say, okay, I've got this. Whichever direction I go, I'm solid. I'm on solid footing.
Right. And so it's really about being able to understand what's happening and being able to understand your role and your involvement in that energy.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
You know what it's like, Patty? It's like getting a weather report. And once someone has said to you, Patty, well, if you were in Oklahoma, you would get the clothing for all 4 seasons and put it in your trunk because it didn't matter if it was sunny that morning, maybe snowing that evening. It's erratic. But if you were told, when you leave your home today, there's a 40% chance of rain, there's a high probability that you're going to grab either a raincoat or your umbrella on the way out the door.
Right.
So that even if it didn't rain, you were prepared.
Right.
That's what I want people to understand about energy.
Okay,
regardless of what's taking place around you, if you can own your own energy, then you can own this life.
Great. All right, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to dig into this a little bit more and learn how we can understand this energy and being able to take control of our life. Again, this is Radio AMB. We're talking with Melissa Yamaguchi, and we will be right back.
Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easier for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
Where positive people and radio unite. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back. This is Patty Smucker. You're listening to Radio AMB. We're here with Melissa Chambers Yamaguchi, energy therapist and Feng Shui speaker, educator, and owner of Yamaguchi Salon and Coastal Spa. And we're talking about Feng Shui. We've had a fascinating first part of our show. Melissa, we talked about the energy that's happening in the year based on the earth and the energy of the earth. In spite of that energy of the year, how do I translate it to myself individually?
The first thing that you need to do in understanding energy is understand your own energy. And the way many of us have been to Chinese restaurants where there'll be a placemat and you'll see, 1960, that's the year of the rat, that must be. And so we have a modicum of understanding of what it is. Mm-hmm. However, the Chinese energy is based on a lunar calendar.
Okay.
And I think the one reason, look, I'm a girl from Oklahoma who grew up with the same calendar as we all did, January 1 to December 31.
Right.
But I think that the reason that this lunar calendar appeals to me, especially in the study of energy, is because it's a breathing, living calendar. The beginning of the year may be anywhere from January 18th to February 12th.
Okay.
And then the final year, the last day, the December 31st, if you will, could be anywhere from January 17th to February 13th.
Uh-huh.
So it fluctuates, and it moves and breathes based on the lunar phases.
Okay.
So if you were born anywhere from January 1 to February 18th, you may not be the year you see on the Chinese placemat.
Okay.
But once you have discovered what year you're born,
mm-hmm.
then you take that in Feng Shui, when we work with people based on their energy, the year that you're born tells me your social energy. Mm-hmm. It tells me how you identify to people when you first meet them, when you shake their hand, and when you're dealing with them on what I call a superficial level. Mm-hmm. It's enough to get by. You talk to the banker, you're saying thank you to the cab driver, you're moving on through life, you're greeting people on the street. That's your social energy, and it is a big overarching energy of who you are. And in order to understand how you work within each year, this year being the year of the monkey, for example, certain annual energies will identify very easily with the way the Earth is moving this year and what we call the monkey.
Okay.
The energy as it's moving, even though I described it as this helter-skelter energy, it's still known as a creative energy within boundaries. It's known as more of a conservative energy, even though it is a little bit wild. It's the wild cousin of the conservative energies, if you will. There are certain energies within the animal assignments that will identify with this energy and be propelled in a positive way moving forward very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And those energies would be the year of the rat, the year of the ox, the year of the dragon, the year of the snake, the year of the monkey, the year of the rooster.
Okay.
All of those energies very naturally will have a pretty easy year this year, relatively speaking. Obviously, size unknown, with the events unknown. But relatively speaking, not a year when they're going to be bumping their head up against a brick wall because of the way the Earth is moving. And when that energy is moving in an easy fashion and there's not a lot of friction, you move along a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
The other energies, tiger, rabbit, horse, sheep, dog, and pig, will not have a horrible year, but may bump into a few obstacles along the way. So if someone approaches me and says, all right, Melissa, I'm born the year of the dog. How do I get through this year? Well, the way that you're going to move through this year is by not being so quarrelsome. Events will come up if you have been labeled the year of the dog.
Right.
That will cause you to, if we think about a dog, the genius assignment of animals by the Chinese 4,000 years ago never ceases to amaze me. If you think about a dog with its tail wagging when you come home from work and you can really look bad, have a horrible haircut, one big eyelashes on your chin, and you come walking through the door and you feel and look horrible and maybe you were fired or somebody broke up with you, and your dog doesn't know, and the dog doesn't really care.
Right.
The dog still wants your love. The dog will wag its tail in excitement to see you and be loyal to you regardless of your plight in life. There's many homeless people walking with dogs. And yet, you can pet your dog a million times, and he or she may leave for a few seconds, but will come right back. A little bit more love, if you don't mind. Just a little bit more, a little bit more assurance. The energy of the dog this year, because there's a little bit of a tilt to the way they normally would vibrate on the year of the dog. Let's, for the sake of explanation, say that the monkey is vibrating at a vertical energy. Well, a dog would naturally vibrate at a horizontal energy. So that if the dog is trying to maneuver through this vertical energy all year long, it may be bumping its head up against some walls. And the way that the dog would be able to manifest what it needs to have happen this year is by not getting angry. Just to sit back a little bit on its laurels and say, okay, well, that didn't feel right. Let's try something else. But to get angry will stifle the energy.
Right.
And so that's how the energy moves, and it's on a case-by-case basis, based on the year they're born and based on the way their energy vibrates in relation to the Earth, the year.
Right, right. And so you and I spoke a little bit before, and we identified that I was born in the year of the dragon. So
the year of the dog. The year of the dog.
That's right, the year of the dog, 1958. Yeah. So year of the dog. And so in this particular time, it's basically being in a situation where I'm trying to be staying flexible, and not reacting when I feel like things are not moving smoothly.
That's right. And the dichotomy of the dog is this. Many of us have reached out to pet a dog and its tail's wagging and it looks so darn friendly and sweet and inviting, and you may reach out and all of a sudden it'll snap.
Right.
If the dog is out of sorts, with the slightest provocation, it can bark or bite, and you think, well, what just happened? But her tail was wagging. She looked pretty friendly.
Right.
But so this year, so that doesn't happen more frequently, the dog needs to take a deep breath, lest it will sever relationships. And so it's taking a deep breath and pulling back and saying, all right, that didn't move as quickly as I wanted. I was misinterpreted. My tail was wagging, but that's just because I was shooing a fly. That person misread it as though I was inviting her in for a pet.
Right.
So it's understanding your movements, understanding the messages you're sending out so they not be misleading, and really pulling back and taking assessment of how you appear and how you can approach things when they don't appear the way you need them to.
Right.
So that's logical information for all of us every year, right?
Right.
I mean, the beauty about the study of energy, and being a girl from Oklahoma, is that I live in the territory of logic. when something doesn't make sense to me, if it's too voodoo, hoodoo, woo-doo, I kind of start pulling back and scratching my head saying, well, I'm really going to get teased on Facebook if I start buying into that. So I pull back a little bit and I kind of try to find the logic in something.
Right.
Feng Shui is extremely logical. One of the messages in Feng Shui for furniture placement would tell you not to have edges with sharp corners and placed in areas where you walk. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't want to
basic, right?
my hip bone as I'm walking by. So a lot of it's logical, but with the energy, for each of these energies, the way they move, let's take the rat, for example. Mm-hmm. The rat's energy is vibrating vertically, just like the monkey. So the rat, it's not that the rat can spit in the wind and irritate people and blow off customers and do bad haircuts or treat people poorly. It's that the rat will not have as many obstacles in its path. It will be a much smoother year.
Right, right. And so how does someone learn, so where does someone go to understand and learn what the information that will help them understand their energy?
Well, there are books at the bookstore, certainly, that will give an understanding of the annual energies that tell you your year of what this means for you.
Right.
But within the lessons of Feng Shui, I have to tread very carefully here, but when I say this to you, I say it only for an analogy, not as a direct comparison. Mm-hmm. In religion, there are many different sections of religion to understand. You can either be Catholic or Christian, and within the Christian faith, you can be Protestant, you can be Baptist, you can be a Methodist, but there are, Hindu and Buddhist, there are many different ways to practice a belief. In Feng Shui, it is a discipline that when practice becomes an art. It's not a religion. But within Feng Shui, there are different modalities of understanding. And there are the black sect version, the white sect version. Mine is really based on formation and land and the energy coming directly from the earth, which resonates with me being from Cherokee Territory of Oklahoma. So if someone wants to know more, they can certainly go to bookstores and gather the annual information. The confusing part is when you get 2 or 3 different books, and they'll say a little bit something slightly different. Right. But the genesis, the basis of it, should be very, very similar, and it will be. They can always approach sites like mine to get a deeper understanding. I delve in a little bit more than the color of the pillows that you have on your bed or where you place your planter. It's not that I don't care. But again, back to just because the house is Feng Shui doesn't mean you are. Right. It doesn't matter how beautiful the energy of the home is. If you're chaotic, this is all for naught. So I'm more interested in delving into the individual. And so books at the store based on Feng Shui and the animals and the understanding of it. On the Internet, there's information and offerings galore. And then on my site, at melissayamaguchi.com, there's an opportunity to get on there and find out more about you as an individual, how you vibrate every year, every month, every day, and every hour.
Great. Well, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about taking it down to that level and how this translates actually in the work environment. So stay with us. This is Radio AMB, and I'm Patty Smucker. Don't go away.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now this same technology is available to you. They have the best Earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. EarthChannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now. So come to EarthChannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call earthchannel.com at 1-800-849-8978. That's 1-800-849-8978.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
Hi, I'm Patty Smucker, and this is Radio AMB. We're here with Melissa Chambers Yamaguchi, an energy therapist and Feng Shui speaker, educator. She's also the owner of Yamaguchi Salon and Coastal Spa. We're talking about Feng Shui and energy work. And we talked a little bit in our previous section about the energy of the year you were born. Melissa, tell us a little bit more. The year you're born, is you mentioned, is about your social energy, how you show up in the world. But what does the month of the year that you were born and the day, what does that tell us in Feng Shui?
Well, in Feng Shui, the month that you're born is an indicator of your work ethic and how you work. Mm-hmm. Do you work strategically? Do you work randomly? Are you more of a connector? Mm-hmm. Are you more of an interpreter? How do you work? The day that you're born tells someone like me about your core, your core energy. How do you defend your non-negotiables? Mm-hmm. How do you protect your values? And if they are challenged or asked for explanation, how you present them is the day that you're born, a core value. The hour that you're born tells me about your intimate energy. And I always, when I'm on stage, I like to say that that's the energy that's just 6 inches from your heart. Mm-hmm. If it's your mother as she lay dying, or your son if he's getting married, or your daughter if she wins the lottery, whatever happens in your life, it's how you respond. It can be the energy of the bedroom, but it can also be as intimate as how you are with your baby. Mm-hmm. So very, very intimate energy. So in the workplace, typically what we address is that year you're born, that social energy, how you first meet the clientele, but then the month you're born, which tells me how you're going to be working. And for someone who's in school, it's certainly the work of school. Mm-hmm. And then if it's someone who's a stay-at-home mom or dad, it's how they maintain their household.
Right, right. And so give us an example. Again, we were already disclosed. I'm the dog, so I was born the year of the dog. But my month is April, so that puts me as the month of the dragon?
That's right, the month of the dragon. And what that indicates to me is that you are an incredible protector. Whenever I have had to have, or in need of an attorney, mm-hmm. and thank you God they've been few and far between, but when I have had to have an attorney, mm-hmm. I've always just tried my hardest to ensure that he or she was the month of dragon. Mm-hmm. Because a dragon will stand in front of a moving truck and throw their arm around you, or in front of you, stand in front of you, and push the other person away. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible protective energy. It's a very proud energy. A dragon energy is not going to, in the workplace, it's not going to be the person who's going to turn in shoddy work. A dragon student would rather not turn in his work mm-hmm. than to turn in shoddy work. And when I've spoken to teachers, the biggest confusion is how they can have an incredibly intelligent child willingly take an F. Because right. if it's not good enough, they'd rather not do it at all. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's a key understanding when you're working with dragon energy, is that give them the space, give them the room to create what they need to create, to be proud of it, mm-hmm. and then pull away. And instead of assuming that there's an ego involved, well, yes, a healthy ego is good for all of us, but it's not egotistical to want to present your best. That's and right. A dragon needs it. It's vital. Mm-hmm. You were also born on the 21st, and that tells me that you're also the day of the dragon. Okay. So you're the work energy of the dragon, and you're the core of the dragon. Mm-hmm. You are D squared. You're D to the third power, because we've got dog, dragon, and dragon. So you're great. But you've got dragon squared, which tells me that all of the beauty of the dragon is intensified, and all of the challenges of the dragon can be intensified.
Right.
So with that dragon core, it's the exact same messages with the energy of the workplace, except the differences are when a dragon is pushed too hard to explain himself, once he or she has been embarrassed or hurt, you will meet nothing but resistance and stonewalling. Because the dragon is a proud energy, they need to understand where they might have failed themselves, not because it doesn't look good to you, because it doesn't look good to them. They are their own harshest critics. They will retreat and remove themselves from the situation. They won't run out of shame with their tail between their legs, but they'll say, give me a day to get back to you, or give me some time. That is not, a lot of times if you don't understand that energy, you'll think that they're pulling away and running from you. And then if you're insecure about your positioning with them, it can make you want to chase after them. Well, the harder you chase the dragon, the faster they run. Right. So the best thing to do when a dragon requests time, and time alone in particular, the best thing to do is to step back and just offer it willingly, because they will come back to you stronger and better than before once they have figured out what happened. So for a mother who has a child of a dragon, with the dragon energy at the core, the dragon will retreat to the room. Even when they're a little child, they may want their mommy to hug them and kiss the boo-boo, but as they grow older and they start coming into themselves, they're going to move away from the mother. And if you're the type of mother who wants to wrap your arms around your child, even if she's 50, when she pulls away from you, it can feel as though it's a personal rejection when it's not. Right.
And it's so interesting, Melissa, because, you and I, in our pre-interview, we talked a little bit about this and had a couple of days to think more about it, what you've said. I mean, I've never done Feng Shui at all, really studied it at all, but these descriptions of me are so incredibly right on, and as I've aged, I approach things differently, but that energy, that fierceness is still there. But that desire for that proud energy, that desire to pull back. I don't like conflict in any way, and if there is conflict, then the first thing that I do is I want to completely pull back. The descriptions that you've given are so incredibly right on that there's a little part of my brain going, oh my gosh, how can this be? And yet if someone has this insight, whether it be for the dragon or any of these other energies, it would seem like it would really help to give you understanding when you see people responding in the way that they do in the workplace or in your home.
Absolutely, Patty. And I'll tell you something. I'll tell you how it has saved us on a personal level within our business, how it has saved my relationship with my husband, and how it has helped me to understand my relationship with my children and help them understand their relationship with their friends. Billy and I had an employee who had been with us for years, was really a right hand to Billy. Well, the person made the decision to pack up and leave with very little notice and with very little indication that he or she was wanting to move on. And Billy really was scratching his head over it and kind of retracing his steps to figure out if something had happened. And I kept saying to him, what are you doing? He said, well, I don't understand. And I said, okay, well, understand this. This person is the energy of the rat. Rats have a need to be on their own. There's an incredible need. Rats are not interested in tying for first place. They're not interested in coming in second or third. That wasn't winning to a rat. A rat wants to win. And so they push the fastest and furthest. And even though the relationship was really healthy and good, it still felt like a tie to the rat because the rat wasn't on top as the boss. Right. So this has nothing to do with you. I said it could have been Pope Francis hiring this person. They would have left anyway. It has nothing to do with you. What that does when you have an understanding of someone else's energy, then I'm not suggesting that you can remove all blame from yourself, but it helps you to understand where they're coming from a lot faster. It's an express line to understand them. Right.
And it just seems like a really, really powerful tool on a lot of different levels. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to dig into the business aspect and look at this from how does a business owner take and utilize this information and make it an important part of their business. So don't go away. We will be right back.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. Well, be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap state. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
Oh, man, it never fails. My suitcase just got ripped apart.
Life is a journey. Make it a pleasant one. Use Samsonite. You know the name. For almost a century, Samsonite luggage has proved itself to be the worldwide leader in innovative travel solutions. Let it be yours. Visit HealthyLife.net's affiliate Samsonite on our homepage and click to look at the fine luggage from suitcases to golf travel bags. And don't forget, take a look at their travel accessories. Make life a journey, a pleasant one, with Samsonite.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Listening to Radio AMB, where we share the secrets behind the beauty industry. Our program sponsor is Free Your Mane. You can find Free Your Mane online at freeyourmane, spelled MANE.com, or at Anthropology stores. I'm Patty Smucker, and we're here with Melissa Chambers Yamaguchi, an energy therapist and Feng Shui speaker. And we have been talking about the application or the understanding a little bit about Feng Shui. Let's tell us how you have taken and weave this into your business and working with your staff in your business.
Once I became heavily versed in what I'm doing, I began to gather the data with the team's permission to get their entire birth date. Many of us here in the Western world don't know the time we're born, but oftentimes it will be on the birth certificate. Mm-hmm. So I was gathering that data, and I don't, as an owner, employer, you don't really need to have the hour the person's born, because you're not usually diving into that deep of the layers of the onion to get to know them, since it's such an intimate energy. Mm-hmm. But at the very least, having the year, the day, and the month is important. So once I had that information, it allowed me to understand how my staff move more productively. If I had each of the energies, the animal assignments has what's known as energies that move similarly, like I had indicated earlier for sake of explanation, the vibrational energies as opposed to the horizontal and vertical. Mm-hmm. If within those energies, there are also people whose energy is antithetical. It's the opposite of how you see and how you move. So if, for example, as the dog, the year of the dog, if your energy is vibrating horizontally, an energy that runs extremely opposite, and the old Feng Shui masters would call it your energetic enemy. I don't say that. I say it's the opposite, because we can understand our opposition mm-hmm. and learn to embrace their differences. Right. Your energetic opposite is someone born the year of the dragon. Mm-hmm. Because when you wake up in the morning and I call you and I say, Patty, please explain your view to me. You say, Melissa, I'm looking at the ocean. There's incredible seagulls, and I can see some dolphins ahead of me. I then call another person who's born the year of the dragon. I said, please explain your view to me. And she says, I'm looking at the mountain. There's pine trees and eagles. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. Neither one of you is wrong. But what you see depends on where you stand and how you vibrate. Right. So it's a difference. It's an opposite. So when I'm looking at the energy of my team, if I've got a senior who's going to be training a new apprentice or bringing in a new person onto the team and showing them the ropes, it would really be counterproductive for me to place someone who's a dog with a dragon. Right. And if I've only hired dogs and my new girl is a dragon, then then I'm going to have to teach them how to work with this dragon energy and to not take anything personally when it hits them in opposition. So it's allowed me to place my team in pods, if you will, of energy so that they are optimized. And when they feel like their energy is optimized and they are moving at the highest vibration, everyone's happy.
Right, right. And do you find, though, that as you begin to talk about these types of things that you have resistance, that people don't buy in or have other conflicting belief systems that get in the way of this being effective?
Absolutely. I was out of the country one time, and I was speaking, and a woman came in and was during the intermission and was really upset with me, telling me, she said, how dare you not infer that energy comes from God? And my answer to this was, I was hired here to teach you a science. I'm not a moral mandator. But if you have a belief system, this would seem to make sense. If you believe, for example, in God, then who masterminded this entire mathematical algorithm? Because I couldn't have done it.
Right.
I don't know anyone else who could have done it. So it's some genius design. But so when I've had people say to me, I don't know if I want to take this class, or I don't know if I can sit in this lesson because of my belief system, then I, out of respect to them, will have, if it's one of my team members, out of respect to them, I will adjust my vocabulary so that they can hear it. That's proper teaching.
Right.
You know, if I'm teaching religion at school, and it's not a religious school, and I have students in the class from a myriad walks of life, it would behoove me to understand how to explain this so that I don't hurt anybody and I don't alienate them. Because once you've alienated someone, they can no longer hear.
Right, right.
So within my own team, I adjust my jargon, and I adjust it so that they can hear it. And I speak more in scientific layman terms. The I Ching, this whole this origin of Feng Shui lessons, is very, very similar to the Farmer's Almanac, teaching us what we reap and what we sow, and when we can lay a crop and when we can expect to reap it. It's very similar to the I Ching. So when I began to explain it in terms of that, then it's more palatable to someone who may be afraid of it, or may be questioning whether or not this is something that may be disrespectful to their own belief system.
Right.
So I adjust my vocabulary. But when I've been hired to speak at companies or for different conferences, I do a bit of a disclaimer right up front. This is not a religion. But if at any point you get uncomfortable with this, please just hear me out, and then I'll come back around and explain it in a different way, because that's only fair for someone to understand.
Well, and I love how we started this story, and that is that this whole concept really became natural for you because your brother was born deaf, and you watched your mother adjust the way she worked with, loved, taught each of you individually. So it was like you were born into understanding how to interpret and see different needs and being able to adjust what you're doing so that people can resonate and hear what you're talking about.
Thank you for even saying that. I love that, and I never even thought of putting it together. I do tell my audience and my clients that you made a pact. You made a pinky promise with some energy on it before you came down here, and you signed up for this journey. And so as it's all starting to come together and make sense to me, like, oh, I went through that so that I could do this. Oh, because I experienced that, I'm now able to understand this. Just validates for me that I had signed up for this journey.
That's right.
I had two children, a 16-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son. And I had 7 miscarriages before I was ever allowed to have my daughter.
Wow.
So, but I never came down with the baby blues, and I only because I kept thinking, well, there's something more. The desire to be a mother is deep in my heart. So if the baby can't come through me, they will come to me. I'll adopt. I wasn't really that worried about how it was going to take place. I knew I was going to have a child. Well, because I was able to finally have children through my body, I have taught my children, like, listen, the 7 before you checked out very early on because they put the message back up to the telegram that the housing industry was crazy. They didn't want to deal with the landlord was a little bit cuckoo. But you two stayed on. So now you two have to decide why you. Because this is not an easy journey.
Right.
You fight like heck to get here. Now that you're here, now what? Don't just take up oxygen. What are we doing? And the more you can understand that this is your journey, pain and pleasure, negative and positive. You can, and that's the reason this message of mine of owning your energy so that you can own your life is so important. Once I can take ownership of me, then I know how to maneuver.
Right. Right. Such a powerful message, Melissa, and I'm just honored to have had you with us today. Tell our audience a little bit about what you're doing next and how, if somebody's interested in connecting with you, they can.
Oh, I would welcome it and honor it. I have a book that I have come out with, and the book title, because, Patty, you know me long enough to know that everything is tongue-in-cheek with me. The title of my book is What the Feng Shui. And so I would like to offer that to your readers. If they would hit my URL, which is melissayamaguchi.com, if they would be so kind as just to enter their information, then I would send them the first chapter of my book complimentary. And the book really is a good understanding of energy, an understanding of similar to what you and I have spoken about today, diving in a little bit more to each of the animals, understanding that if you're born this year, that makes you a rat. What does that mean? If you're born this month, that might make you an ox. What does that mean? And then the beauty about the book is that it also offers you an insight to those you love and people with whom you work. And understanding that if you're vibrating in a positive energy one day, the guy next to you may be in a bad mood that has nothing to do with you because his energy is off. His energy is off from the high vibration that you're on. It may be a lower vibration that day.
Right.
It's a beautiful offering of understanding people around you, and the book really breaks it down per energy and gives you a little bit more, dives a little bit further into the background of energy and how it all came about in China and how we moved it into modern times.
Great.
So I'd love to offer that to your audience. And I'm also working on a podcast series that's going to be offering this on a monthly basis because the energy moves each month. So the book and speaking and raising the 2 children and trying my hardest to maintain the 4 hairs that are left on my head, the rest have been pulled out. I'm and moving quite along.
Great, great. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for being with us today. This is going to wrap it up for us, and I'll have more information about Melissa on our website. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's all for us today. Don't miss our lineup in the next few weeks. Next week, my guest will be CEO Brenda Elliott of Universal Companies, the single source authority for all things in spas for over the last 30 years. Mark your calendars and tune in. Send us your questions and comments to requests@American Made Beauty. I'm Patty Smucker. You're listening to Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. Thanks for listening. We think pretty is pretty important in all things in beauty.